Master Shao Yun's revelation. Venerable elders, Dharma masters, lay Buddhists, and devoted friends. I would like to take this opportunity to briefly introduce to the Hong Kong Buddhist community the deeds and characteristics of Venerable Master Xu Yun's life in Yunju Mountain. I hope that his good words and deeds will serve as an example for us, the future generations, to learn Buddhism. Meanwhile, I would like to take this opportunity to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Venerable Monk's passing, and offer a small token of my gratitude to him, for his kindness in teaching me the Dharma. Due to my shallow cultivation, and my limited knowledge of Buddhism, if there are any mistakes or shortcomings, I would like to ask all the great masters, to kindly point them out. In August 1956, I went from Anhui Province to Yunju Temple on Yunju Mountain in Jiangsu Province, to seek refuge with Venerable Master Xu Yun and asked to become a monk. At 19, I left home after graduating from high school, and went to Yunju Mountain. In fact, as early as when I was 16 years old, I had been secretly writing letters to the Venerable Monk, without telling my family. Although he was a well-known eminent monk domestically and abroad, he always wrote back to me personally. After meeting the Venerable Monk, he asked me why I wished to become a monk. I replied that I aspired to attain Buddhahood. Upon hearing this, the elder was greatly pleased. He immediately accepted me as his disciple, personally shaved my head, and bestowed upon me the monastic name Shao Yun. That winter, I proceeded to Nanhua Temple to receive the full monastic precepts. I then returned to Yunju Mountain and participate in the daily chores with others. After a few months, I began to serve the Venerable Monk, and during the day, I listened to the abbot Master Hayding's lectures in the residence. The Venerable Monk was 117 years old at the time, while his eyes were still bright and alert. At night, he never wore glasses, when reading the fine print in the newspaper by kerosene lamp. He has 36 teeth, all neatly arranged, without any missing or damaged. He said they grew back after he was 90 years old. His voice is very resonant. Sometimes when he gave sermons in the meditation hall, his voice was so loud that it made the bell in the meditation hall buzz. When the Venerable Monk arrived at Yunju Mountain in July 1953, the mountain was full of rubble and weeds, with only 3 dilapidated dormitories and 4 monks. This is the desolate scene left after the Yunju Temple was tragically destroyed by Japanese artillery fire on March 19, 1939, with all its halls and pavilions completely destroyed. Within months of the Venerable Monk's arrival at Yunju Mountain, over 50 people had gathered. After meeting him, none of them wished to leave. He then petitioned the government to rebuild Yunju Mountain. Upon receiving approval, construction began immediately. In order to be self-sufficient in daily living, they began to reclaim wasteland and plant crops. When I went there in early 1956, they had already developed large tracts of land, and planted rice and potatoes. Later, as the population grew, the temple instituted a rule, prohibiting individuals without labor capacity or productive abilities, from registering as residents. By the end of 1956, over 120 people had settled there, reclaiming more than 20 hectares of land. Annual harvests reached nearly 50,000 kilograms of rice, and over 50,000 kilograms of other crops, basically achieving self-sufficiency. At that time, the Venerable Monk, already 117 years old, would visit the construction sites and newly cultivated areas daily, to inspect the progress, and offer personal guidance, while also receiving visitors from all corners. At 6 o'clock in the evening, he would give a lecture in the meditation hall. After 8 o'clock, he would start reading letters from all over the place. Sometimes there would be more than 100 letters a day, and he would read them all one by one. For important correspondence, he would personally reply. For ordinary letters, he would outline his intentions, and we would respond on his behalf. He usually doesn't rest until around midnight, then rises at 2 in the morning to meditate, until the 4th gong sounds, around 3:30, before getting up to wash his face. He didn't use a toothbrush or toothpaste. He just rinsed his mouth with warm water, spit it out on a towel, washed his eyes first, and then washed his entire face. He said washing this way can prevent eye diseases, and improve vision. After washing his face, he was prostrated before the Buddha, then returned to bed to meditate. At that time, we would begin attending the morning practice. Afterward, we would rest briefly before the sound of the wooden block summoned everyone to the dining hall for breakfast. Back then, life in the mountains was tough. There were not many cultivated fields, and the harvest of grain was tiny. Because sweet potatoes are easy to grow, and have a large yield, the season for eating sweet potatoes starts from July, and lasts until March of the following year. Sweet potato leaves and stems became our side dishes. When even the roots and leaves were scarce, we'd simply stir-fry salt, and mix it into our congee. Every morning at breakfast, we ate congee cooked with just a little rice mixed with lots of sweet potatoes. What about lunch? Although the masters ate a lot, only a casual dish was provided, and having vegetable dishes was considered luxurious. In the evening, there was no rice or noodles served. Only boiled sweet potatoes or potatoes were placed in the dining hall, but only a few people would go to eat a little for health reasons. The congee and vegetables that the Venerable Monk ate, were all prepared by us from the kitchen, the same as what the other monks ate. If there were no guests, he never added an extra dish. When I think of his frugal and simple life, it is still fresh in my memory. Yunju Mountain is situated at a high elevation, over 1,100 meters above sea level. Winters are bitterly cold, with temperatures dropping as low as -18 degrees Celsius. Sweet potatoes stored in the cellar couldn't withstand the cold air, their skins turned black, and when cooked, they tasted bitter. Once, Master Xuyun and I were eating congee at the Venerable Monk's hut. We tasted the bitter and astringent sweet potato skins, so we picked them out and put them on the table. The Venerable Monk remained silent when he saw this. After the meal was finished, he quietly picked up the sweet potato skins, and ate them all. At that moment, the two of us witnessed the scene and felt deeply ashamed and saddened. From then on, we never dared to leave the sweet potato skins uneaten again. Afterward, we asked him, at your advanced age, and with those sweet potato skins being so bitter, how could you possibly eat them? The Venerable Monk sighed and said, that's food. It's meant to be eaten, not wasted. On another occasion, Mr. Zhang, director of the Religious Affairs Office of Jiangxi Province, came up the mountain to visit the Venerable Monk. The Venerable Monk added a few dishes and invited him to lunch. Director Zhang has always been a family man, unaware of how to cherish his blessings. While eating, he dropped several grains of rice on the floor, but the Venerable Monk saw it and said nothing. After finishing his meal, he bent down and picked up each grain of rice from the ground, one by one, putting them into his mouth to eat. This left Director Zhang blushing and not at ease. He repeatedly urged the Venerable Monk, that rice has fallen on the ground and become dirty. It can't be eaten. The Venerable Monk said, it doesn't matter. These are all grains, not a single grain can be wasted. The director then said, you need to improve your life condition. The monk replied, that's it. I'm doing very well. The Venerable Monk was in good health. In the morning, in addition to eating 2 bowls of congee, he sometimes ate some potatoes. He ate 2 large bowls of rice at noon, and sometimes a small bowl of noodles or some congee in the evening. He said that he started having supper for health concern after the Yunmin movement. Before that, he had never eaten after noon. His teeth were very good. I remember one time, a lay Buddhist sent some fried broad beans up the mountain. When the Venerable Monk saw us eating, he wanted to have some too. We said, this stuff is very hard, will your teeth handle it? Without saying a word, he picked up the broad beans and started eating. He chewed them even faster than we did, which surprised us. He is a very frugal person. When the straw mat he slept on was broken, he asked us to mend it with cloth. Not long after, it was torn at the same spot again and could not be mended. We told him that we would replace it for a new one. At that time, a straw mat was only about 2 yuan. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, he scolded loudly. "What a great blessing! You want me to enjoy a new mat." We didn't dare to utter anything. Whether it was winter or summer, he wore only a worn-out long gown, that had been patched over and over again. In winter, he wore a cotton shirt underneath, and in summer, he only wore a sweatshirt inside. The Venerable Monk often taught us, to cultivate wisdom, one must understand the principles. To cultivate blessings, one must cherish blessings. This means that to cultivate wisdom and meditate, one must understand the principles. If one wants to meditate and work hard, but cannot grasp the principles and comprehend them, it will be difficult to put one's efforts into practice. Therefore, the ancients said, there is no other way to practice, the key is to know the path. Once you know the path, birth and death will come to an end. As for cherishing blessings, it is logical that monks do not have the money to cultivate blessings. In fact, it is better to cherish blessings than to create them. That is, we should cherish all the blessings and good fortunes in life. He often admonished us younger generation, cherish your blessings, that you have encountered the Dharma, and come to practice under my guidance, may be due to a little merit cultivated in past lives. But if you squander your blessings, and exhaust your good fortune, you will become a person without blessings. It's like when you made money in business before, and deposited it in the bank. If you stop working hard to earn money now, and just indulge in enjoying life, after spending all your savings, you'll end up in debt. So the Venerable Monk was very strict with us. I feel that we monks and nuns today are so blessed. Our lives, including clothing, food, accommodation, and transportation, are many times more abundant than in the past. Therefore, we should pay more attention to cherishing our blessings. If one does not have blessings or virtue, no matter which dharma of practice he adopts, there will be various obstacles. People with blessings and virtue will find it easier to practice. The Venerable Monk once told us that, he only shaved his head on the last day of the year, and only washed his feet on the last night of the month. That's why his hair and beard are so looking long in photos. But since 1952, he has shaved his head and washed his feet every 2 months, or sometimes once a month. His eyebrows were very strange. There were a few long hairs growing at the end of his eyebrows. In less than half a month, they had grown to 6 or 7 inches long and hung down to his chin. Sometimes he felt it was in the way. When he washed his face or ate, he pulled it out with one hand, but it grew back soon after. At that time, we kept his hair and long eyebrows, until they were confiscated during the Cultural Revolution. He also said he would never bathe in his life. So what if he sweated in the sweltering heat? Sometimes he would sweat in the heat, but we had to urge him repeatedly, and he would only reluctantly change his clothes after several days. Strangely, his clothes didn't smell of sweat at all. Especially his cloth socks, which he often only changed every 2 weeks or a month, also had no odor. His lifestyle was truly extraordinary. Although the Venerable Monk is over 110 years old, his strength is immeasurable. The master who ever followed the Venerable Monk said, once they were clearing land in Yunnan, there was a big rock that several people could not move. Later, the old monk came and told them to go away. He then moved the big stone to a faraway place by himself. One day in 1957, I happened to be returning from outside, and saw the Venerable Monk carrying 2 large bundles of firewood in his hands, and walking towards the dormitory. I asked, Venerable Monk, why are you here carrying firewood? When I asked him, he put down the firewood and went back to the dormitory. I went to the kitchen to find Master Xuyun, who was in charge of chopping firewood, and told him what had happened. He was very surprised and said, "I chopped 3 large bundles of firewood, and carried 1 bundle back to the kitchen myself. There were 2 large bundles left on the roadside west of the thatched hut. Those were so heavy that I could only lift one. How could the Venerable Monk be so strong, to lift both bundles at the same time?" Later, I helped him lift the bundle and weighed it. The single bundle weighed over 100 kilograms. So the Venerable Monk's strength was immeasurable. For those who practice cultivation, the more difficult the environment is, the stronger their determination to cultivate. The Venerable Monk often said, "Without enduring the bitter cold, how can one smell the fragrance of plum blossoms?" At that time, life in Yunju Mountain was tough, the workload was heavy and stressful. In addition to farming, building temples, constructing houses, daily sitting in meditation, and practicing in the hall, the masters also have to demarcate a large area of wasteland every day. If they cannot finish the work during the day, they have to continue working after dark until the goal is achieved. Occasionally, there were some things to be transported up the mountain. On moonlit nights, after sitting for 4 incense sticks, we still had to walk 15 kilometers down the mountain to carry the things. After resting for less than 2 hours, it was time to go to the hall, to attend the morning lesson again. After the morning prayers and the morning lessons, we took a break for only half an hour before going out to the fields again. Life was very hectic and busy at that time, but the monks' hearts were very firm. Additionally, at night, we must take turns guarding the rice fields in 2-person shifts, each lasting 2 hours, to prevent wild boars from attacking. Back then, wild boars and tigers roamed the mountains in great numbers. When the rice blossomed and ripened, the boars would come in drove. As long as one wild boar called, dozens of others would come, and devour the stalks in the rice fields. In this way, a large area of rice fields would disappear in an instant. Despite his advanced age, the Venerable Monk insisted on joining our nightly rice field patrol rotation. At that time, Master Xuyun was the abbot on the mountain. Seeing that the Venerable Monk was working so hard, he also joined the group in taking turns to watch the wild boars. At Yunju Mountain, the Venerable Monk not only often gave lectures to the monks, but also set an example, and educated the public through practical actions in various details of life. Looking back now, we feel deeply ashamed. Therefore, every action and word of a virtuous teacher serves as an example for future generations. He had broken several bones during the Yunmen incident. From 1956 to 1958, he was often ill with fevers. When his old injuries and broken bones were painful, he would lie in bed groaning. But the moment he heard someone was coming to visit him, he immediately sat up, crossed his legs, and was in excellent spirits. He could talk for 3 or 4 hours straight, showing no sign of illness whatsoever. We sometimes urged guests to leave so he could get some rest. But he got upset instead, scolding us, "People come to me because they have business to discuss. They must finish talking before they can leave." But as soon as the guests left, he lay down and groaned again. We asked him, "You were so energetic when the guests came, but why are you so miserable now that they've left?" He said, "This is karmic hindrance. Even the king of hell can't control me. I can get up when I want to, and not get up when I don't want to." On hearing that, we were very astonished. In the first month of lunar calendar in 1957, he was seriously ill. Officials from the county and the provincial government came to visit him, and sent a car to take him to Nanchang Provincial Hospital for treatment. He was reluctant to go at first, but after repeated persuasion and urging, from the provincial government leaders, he reluctantly agreed. When he arrived at the hospital, and had his blood type tested, the medical staff were all very astonished. They said, "I heard that this old man is over 100 years old, but his blood type is like that of a child under 13 years old. We have never seen such a blood type in someone of such an old age." After detailed tests, They said the old monk's blood type was pure positive. The Venerable Monk only stayed in the hospital for 4 days, before returning to the mountain. His blood type remains a mystery to this day. When he took a nap at noon, he sometimes felt drowsy, his head fell forward, and he even snored. Once, when we heard him snoring, we quietly slipped away, taking the fruit and cookie from his room to outside, eating and playing. When he woke up, he scolded us for each thing. We asked, "Weren't you snoring just now? How did you know?" He said, "I know all the delusive thoughts in your mind. How could I not know if you took food out to eat?" From that moment on, we came to believe that, those who have attained enlightenment and transcended birth and death, have transcended the 5 aggregates. Though outwardly asleep, their minds remain perfectly clear and lucid. We also took the opportunity to ask him about his experience, living in Yunju Mountain. At that time, he was 67 years old, and lived in a thatched hut in Yunju Mountain. Master Xuyun was a monk who taught many sutras. When he heard that the Venerable Monk had attained enlightenment, he went to the thatched hut on Mount Yunnan to debate with the Venerable Monk, on the witty words of Chan. The Venerable Monk heard his boastful words and said to him, "Though your sharp-witted debates are impressive, they are not your true competence. You cannot master the root of birth and death, and the king of hell will not let you off. Stop debating. Let's sit and see."